I guess I just want to basically concentrate on you as an athlete first off, sort of thing, and just to bridge that gap where a lot of people, like I remember when you were sort of in Australia racing as a junior sort of thing, but can you just explain just exactly like when you started, how you started, and just those early years in BMX?
I started racing when I was sort of 7 years old in Toowoomba and started doing the circuit within Queensland, and then branched out and did stuff around Australia with nationals. And first international race was basically in '85 at the World Championships in Canada, where I placed fifth. And then just kept progressing through with high school and turned professional in '93 at Beanley at one of the big pro races. And at the end of that year, I sort of went to America, sort of advised by some of the US pro guys who came to Australia, and they said, you know, you're riding great, you do great in America. And so I decided to go across to the States and give it a try, and stay there for a little while to try and race the season, and come back in a year and start up a physical education course, and ended up snowballing to where I got sponsorship and winning races and winning championships, and then moved into mountain biking, and pretty much a 13-year professional career lasted so just for leaving Australia.
When you're a junior, like when you started when you're 7 years old, were you instantly quick? Do you remember being quick compared to other kids and things?
Yeah, when I first started, I was still competitive with the guys, like on the old Kmart special, which my brother bought me for Christmas, and but got a better bike and just started being pretty competitive and getting third at the state titles the first year, and I think it was fifth at the first national championship. So pretty talented as a young kid, straight into it, and just progressed to where you're winning all the other races, and up racing up a couple of classes and winning in those, and so pretty good when I was young. Yeah, because I was competing against Travis Turrison, so he sort of went to the States a little bit, but we got Darren Hawkins and a whole bunch of guys sort of thing back then, but who sort of didn't continue racing. So it's sort of, I'm pretty much the oldest one, stayed in the sport, but you had Brett Screws and guys like that. Like back in the day, you had Paul Adams and Anthony Way. I raced Anthony a little bit, but Paul Adams was a bit older than I was. So, but we had a great sort of field in Australia with Billy Dixon and a whole bunch of guys, so it was good.
I mean, just say that a 19-year-old back here might sort of go, well, I don't have any money or anything. Can you do it? Like that?
Yeah, like it's all about just planning and setting a goal, and that's what I think we had pretty squared up with my parents. Like, here's X amount of dollars, which was $2,000 at that stage. Go there, you'll travel in a van, and you just got to deal with it. Like, you have a small budget, and that's, I think these days the kids just expect everything for nothing. And where I slept at roadside truck stops, and eating all you can eat buffets just so I had enough food on my belly, which cost $5 a day. So there is ways to get around it, and sleeping on hotel floors, but it's just how much you want it. So if the kids really want it, they'll actually go there, and prime example, some of the junior kids these days, they're going there, they've got a plan, and they've got that goal. So it is doable, and I think with the support Australia now is giving to the riders with the high performance program, it's so much easier, and we just got to make sure those riders are grateful what they're getting, and making sure they're still determined to get those results instead of having a tour around America, so to speak.
So what was the time frame of winning that ABA compared to when you first moved over there?
So I went there Grands 93, so November. The first national championship I won was with Cruiser, with his 1996. I was up for it the year before, but blew out my knee in the semi-final before the final race. Then 2000 was the first time I won the ABA title in AA Pro, and that's the same year I won the World Championships within mountain bike. So it does take a few years to get settled in and get through the program and understand. And back then, getting sponsorship wasn't that easy. It was basically what you were winning at races got you to the next race, and budgeting out things, and working with friends, and calling ahead and organising clinics with the local clubs. So it's working to get to where you want to be is the key thing.
Winning an ABA title, is there a lot that goes with that? Financial things and things like that? Or?
Yeah, back then when I won the pro title, it was $10,000 from ABA winning it, and then it was your bonus from your sponsors. So, it's a big, financial gain, but it's a lot of work that goes into it and a lot of sacrifice. But again, you got to work those contracts and things to set you up along those ways, and getting all those expenses paid, which is probably $30,000 a year just to get to the events. That's the key thing. And then being consistent, and and that ABA title and World Championship, made my career continue for the next 4 to 6 years. When I first went to the States, I was basically called Mr. Contingency, to where I had money for every bike part on my bike. It was spin wheels, it was maybe 200 for first, 100 for second, 50 for third. Same thing with frames, number plates, pads, helmets, gloves. That's how I operated, and that's how I had to survive. And then my first sort of full sponsorship deal was with Redline, where they paid all my expenses, and they just worked on a bonus program with a contingency with first place was $1,000, second 500, and 300 for third. So back then I was racing cruiser, so would double up each weekend. So it was just a cash money machine, that thing, making money. So then Trek Volkswagen came along, and then it was basically $1,000 a month, plus all the bonuses, plus all the travel, and then it basically steps up to, I think it was 40, then up to 80, and then then you start to make over 6 figures with all your bonuses and things like that. So today I'm not sure it's that easy getting as much salary. A lot of it's going to be based on bonuses and things. So, but for sure, I was sort of in the high times of the bike industry, paying a lot of money for riders. But hopefully, a lot of the guys in the States are getting external sponsorship with other companies now, instead of within the industry itself. So
were you a methodical rider and trainer? Is that sort of sum you up, or what kind of competitor were you?
Yeah, it's basically, I had a plan set out, and pretty strict with the training resume, and it's just all I did was train, rest, eat, sleep, travel, and that was my life. Like, I didn't go out and party and things like that. It was a very boring life, if you want to say, but I think that's what you have to do, so to speak, to get those great results. And a prime example is Christophe Lebec. He's the one who changed our sport to where he came to America basically a trained athlete, and that's all he did, and that's why he won so many titles and money and prizes. So these days, guys are trying to be the rock star, so to speak, try to still party a bit and things, but I think you're going to see a lot of the junior kids coming through to where they're going to be that focused, and that's their job, that's their life. They race and they live to race, basically, and they're the ones who are going to get the results, get the rewards later on, and then you can sort of start having a little bit of fun and buying your little toys and things. But I was pretty focused on saving my money, investing my money, instead of the old time pros as Greg Hill, Pistol Pete, just blowing money on cars and all this stuff. I think I've sort of structured my career to where I'm in a pretty good place financially, and enjoying the place I am now, and trying to educate the kids underneath me the same way as being professional on the track and off the track. So I was basically left in '93. I started coming back in 2000 in the summer period, just to be back home and enjoy the December, January time off. And then I started racing mountain bikes, so it sort of gave me a little bit more time off. And then my mum passed away in 2003, so the year before I sort of came back a little bit more and spent time with her, and bought a nice place on the Gold Coast. So I started using that as my residential, and then just doing the international scene. And then I ended up coming back and starting my own family, and tried to start a professional career in Australia to get the external sponsors involved, and try to chase the Olympic dream, because that's the only reason why I kept coming back into BMX, to try and get to that Olympic status. But I was pretty much comfortable with my career, how it went, and decided to live back in Australia now.
The decision to move into mountain biking, was that just like a social thing, or was that more did you see more money in that, or was it something you always wanted to do? Or?
I sort of had a couple of goes with it with Kavachi wheels back in the day, and then when I had the chance with Trek bicycles, they sent me to a couple of races. When I won the first World Cup in my second race, they were like, "That's it. You're racing mountain bikes." We're starting to weed out the BMX program. So they're the ones who sort of made the decision. But I sort of kept doing the BMX stuff just as a hobby for myself and just the interest of racing BMX. But as a company, they were just purely, they were making more money selling mountain bikes and BMX bikes. So that's what they wanted me to focus and get the marketing exposure with that by race results and the media coverage that we got. Yeah, pretty much, trying to set up that next career, so to speak, and that's why I got sort of heavily involved of starting up my own race program, which was to focus on athlete development and sponsorship opportunities for other kids in Australia and also for myself. So, and that's why I got sort of involved with the club coaching. Then I went up to the regional program in southeast Queensland and set their stuff up, and then was given the chance to run or basically design the program for the National Talent ID program while I was still racing. And eventually that's the path I would like to take, just to give back to the sport, and I think I had a lot to offer to educate the guys on the right pathway to try and achieve the goals and to make something out of an athletic career. So for sure was a part in my mind, and also in the States I started up a little bit too early, I think, when I had my property in Dallas, Texas, had 6 acres, own track, motocross track, and trying to do clinics and race, and finally realised I can't do both, and that's why I sort of stopped the clinics, moved out of Texas, went to California, and then just focused on racing. So so that transition period was for sure in Australia. Try to last to race in BMX, still make a living with coaching, but a slow transition to move into coaching full time and just focus on that. And I think the last year, a couple of years now, has really proven that with the whole junior program within Australia, with being the #1 program in the world right now. Having 50% of the medals at the World Championships proves that.
So when 2003 the Olympic announcement was made, did that change anything in your mindset at all?
Yeah, in 2003 I was still doing a bit of BMX and mountain bikes, but again, talking to Track Bicycles when I was sponsored with them, talking about the Olympic, and race and what that could generate for sales. But for them, Olympics wasn't going to sell them one extra bike, and that's when they started shutting down the BMX program. And then, obviously that time I was actually trying out for the Olympic program for the velodrome, and just living in Adelaide with the sprint group and training with them for a month and trying to prove myself and see if I could make it. But at that stage I had a choice to sign another pro deal with Track Bicycles or try and do the Olympic program, which was basically non-funded program. And I think with the advice with Lance Armstrong as a teammate back then, it's like, well, are you a professional or do you want to be Olympian? And I think that's what really woke me up a bit, and it's like, well, I have a chance to make a good career, and that's why I chose to continue racing mountain bikes and give the whole velodrome opportunity away with the Olympics. It is a hard road with the Olympic program. Like, it's really not a well-funded program to where you can make money. It's more for those amateur athletes who have a dream to be at the Olympics and achieve a great result, to where the professional person is, they have the opportunities to race all around the world, make a good living, and that's their, main focus. So, and that's when I chose, my pathway is to continue my pro career, recoup all the income that I could to set myself up for later life, and that's the whole plan from back then.